Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the League 2 Lowdown. My name is Jordan Richards, and this is the review show from the most recent round of fixtures that took place in League 2 over the weekend. 11 games to talk about. There's also one tomorrow night. We did touch on it in the week, so we probably won't touch on Walsall MK Dons anymore. I'm also not doing this after I've had 6 pints, as to one comment from the other day, which I found highly amusing. I'm doing this on 7. No, I'm not. I'm not. I've not had anything to drink. But look, I mean, it's good to know that you shoot. I've drank on this podcast before. I'm not going to lie to you, and you probably noticed that. But look, I'm with Luke Payne, who has had so far with MK Dons not playing this Saturday. I'm assuming a pretty stressful free weekend. Look, just taking all in with the results. I guess is that the way for it? Getting stressed out with some of them. Better than others.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's been quite nice, really. Just sort of seeing most teams falter in sort of one way or another. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the nerves are maybe starting to build up a little bit because I feel like now that we've seen what everyone else has done, it feels like there's more pressure on our game because if we do win, then we go up to third, and obviously that's what we're chasing, that auto spot. So a lot to play for still, and well, with regards to your game, maybe you wish you had been drinking, but we'll get on to that.
I'm just glad I didn't get. I mean, if we got to, what was it, 7 minutes, we're 2-0 down. Yeah, if anything, I laughed really. But I'm glad this is not one of the deep dives today. Because that was, in fact, yeah, I'll just wait till later. I'll sum it up later. Look, before we do start, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Really do appreciate your support, as well as download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Like I said, we are really grateful at the League 2 Lowdown, well, myself and Luke in particular as well, because at this point, I think this is just all you see, really. The odd appearance from Kieran on a Sunday, not with us this evening, surprisingly, running after a Newport loss. But look, we're doing it again, and yeah, let's talk League 2 action. Let's start at Meadow Lane. I wanted to start with this one. We've had a lot of Notts County supporters over the past few weeks saying that we don't give them enough credit and etc. etc. Played Tranmere Rovers yesterday, and they whooped really. I think is probably the right word to describe it. Beating them 5-0. A really comical own goal in the first half put them on their way through Jason Lowe. It was just a bit of a mess, really. But it was the second half in which the floodlights opened. Lee and Lovey with a brace. Jody Jones quickly getting the fourth just after Lovey's third. Really, two really quick goals there. And then Matt Dennis put the cherry on the cake with a late penalty. I mean, the points were sealed anyway, but that just, like I said, just put the cherry on top. I've got some stuff to say about Tranmere, but look, this is a really good performance. Look, we could probably mention how rubbish Tranmere were, and they were pants. But at the same time, not put them to the sword. I thought they did a thoroughly professional job on them. Still in the top 3 now, 4 points behind Bromley. And yeah, breathing down the necks. But it's not the first time they've been ruthless at home this season. They've done that a few times. I think, what was it? They beat Shrewsbury. Was it 4-1? I think they did. So they are very capable of putting a team to the sword. And they did exactly that yesterday. I don't think they had to get out of first gear. I mean, again, we'll have probably this discussion on Tranmere, but I think it's probably also a good sign from Notts County, the fact that there is still another gear to go to, and it's quite frightening if they do, really. Yeah, I think you've got to give it to them. You can only play what's in front of you. It was Tranmere in this case, and yeah, I mean, as soon as that second goal went in, I think it was one-way traffic from there. Really, the floodlights sort of opened. I mean, with the third and fourth goal in very quick succession, and yeah, I mean, responded brilliantly to that sort of shock result to Shrewsbury last time out. And they've done it with some style, and you've got to give them their dues for that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Notts looked pretty fantastic in that game. Right, on to the next team. No, I'm kidding.
I'd rather not be the next team, considering who I know they've got next. Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was the reaction I think we needed to see after the Shrewsbury game. Obviously they'd been on a nice sort of winning run for a while. Obviously then had a draw with Bromley and then that defeat there. But again, it's just a perfect bounce back. That's exactly what you need to just get back on the horse and go on another winning run, and it's the perfect way to start it. I think last episode I was questioning whether they were maybe missing Jatta a little bit, at least that last game in particular. But Liam Lovu, I mean, fair enough. That's his first start and 2 goals and an assist. So filling that gap wonderfully well, to be fair. Yeah, and to be fair, they've just taken the sword to a side that, well, evidently weren't really up for it. But as you say, you can only play what's in front of you, and I think this sort of game does sort of show their promotion credentials. Is probably the way I'd put it. I will say their next 3 games intrigue me, actually. They're all sort of potential playoff teams, so I think we could find out a lot more about what this side is about in this sort of next run of games. If they can come away winning all 3 of those, then fantastic. I don't think that should necessarily be the expectation. I don't think they need to win all 3, um, given the way that everyone's dropping points at the minute. But, if they can get a couple of positive results there, I think they're gonna be looking very, very good indeed.
I mean, Tranmere, I think we've got to discuss them. As much as Notts County were brilliant, thoroughly deserving of their win. They took the chances when they came. They were ruthless, and they picked up another big 3 points on their quest for, well, the title charge. I think probably they're certainly not have it yet, but certainly in terms of their top 3 credentials, certainly, well, they've done what they needed to do. Really, this was a terrible, terrible day at the office from Tranmere Rovers, and I think we're saying that too much at the minute. 8 defeats in their last 9 games. And yeah, they just stank the place out really from what I saw. And yeah, I think the first goal set the tone, but like I said, as soon as they conceded that second one, they folded like a pack of cards. And it's not the first time we've probably, well, in terms of, I don't think there's been times in which they've been battered like that. Because I think from what I recall, I don't recall many if they have done. But 8 defeats in 9, I think. Look, I somewhat put Tranmere off for a little bit. We know about the stuff off the pitch, about this, if this takeover is going to be done or not. I think it just needs to be done at this stage, because I think with Tranmere now, we think this is just going to keep on happening. This same old cycle, really. This is just what they're going to be. They're going to be around the lower half of the table, and even close to the. I tell you what, though, as I say, close to the relegation zone. I know they're on 35 points. What are they? They have like 9 points adrift. But I think with the run that they're on at the minute, I think them in particular, I think there maybe is one eye over their shoulder at the minute. And I think you're probably right to suggest that. I just don't see enough talent in that team. I don't see enough leaders. I don't see enough characters. But yeah, this takeover needs to be done, because I think I've heard all end about, this takeover's close. There's an interested party and stuff like that. I mean, I don't really know too much for it, but that's just all I hear. Off the pitch, there's so much uncertainty. On the pitch, they've been an absolute shambles these last weeks, and I think if you're losing 8 games from your last 9, I do think questions have to be asked of the manager now. And I saw a lot of discourse around Andy Crosby yesterday, and I think he's probably close to getting the boot, really. But at the same time, I don't really trust him with what they'll do, because I've seen at the same time, I think they'll just go for the cheap option again and just promote their assistant, Andy Parkinson. I think I could be well off the mark there. So I don't really trust it in that sense, but you're always under pressure with results like that. And I even saw, I think Sam Finley come out and mention that Tranmere Rovers are too big of a club to be relegated. I call that rubbish. You're not too big to go down at all. Tranmere have seen it as well. They've been in non-league. They know exactly what it's like. You just need. This is it. It just feels like this perfect storm of what has ever happened. And I just think this is the perfect example from what I've seen teams get relegated from in League Two. If you don't have the right structure off the pitch, and if you're weak as that on it, you're not going to survive very long in it. And yeah, there's everything just needs sorting out, because this is just being dragged on for way too long. And yesterday's capitulation, I think, has sort of cemented a lot of thoughts in people's minds, I think, because this can't keep happening.
Well, I mean, by now, you all know that I love to talk about mentality in professional sport and how important it is. But with Tranmere, they're showing you a perfect example of what a bad mentality looks like. It just feels very wrong. I'm not seeing any camaraderie on the pitch. I mean, the nature of some of these goals is just atrocious. Yeah, I mean the opening on goal. I mean, it's just comical. That should never happen. Absolutely never. Yes, that sometimes ball will go into that sort of corridor of uncertainty, and there's an element of risk there. That wasn't that difficult of a ball to get gone, in my opinion. There are much harder ones that we've seen cleared quite comfortably by other teams this season. That goal just never should have happened from a Tranmere perspective. But it's not just that. It's the passing out from the back. Some of the chances they've conceded from doing that has looked incredibly poor in that game. Even just giving the penalty away in the fashion they did, it was so needless. The players running away from goal. You don't need to get your arms on him or anything like that. It's just constant poor decisions that are costing them here. And you can't do that against sides that have quality and ultimately not have a lot of quality. And actually, I was looking through Tranmere's results as you were speaking just then. They've only actually beaten one team in the top half the entire season, which I'm afraid is Grimsby. Sorry.
I don't know
but
how. Honestly, I still don't know how. We peppered them all night.
yeah,
But yeah, sorry, go on.
they just don't stand a chance against anyone with any quality. The only sides they've beaten, aside from Grimsby, are all the teams around them. And obviously, they're not always winning those either. It's just their record in those games, for the most part, has been pretty reasonable. But for me, I think they've just got to get their act together. They're not safe yet. They're not. I know there's a relatively slim chance of them going down, but they're 3 games away from Harrogate, and there's still a good 12 games left. Yeah. If Harrogate win, a third of their games, they're straight back in. And given that these teams are starting to pick up points, there is a real risk. All you have to do is go and lose another few on top of the ones you've already lost. We're saying 8 from 9. All you need to do is extend that to 12, 13 games, and they could be right in that mix. Even just for the peace of mind, they need a couple of results just to get them safely over the line, and then they can look at next season. But they're by no means clear yet.
No, they're not. They're just not. And like I said, I know they've got a bit of a buffer, and I think that will probably save them really if they get a few more results. But I don't see how this is being turned around at the minute. I just don't. But yeah, there's that. Let us know your thoughts as always. I really want to hear from Tranmere fans. I mean, we hear from Jack Walton a lot anyway, and his thoughts around the club. But be really interested to get your thoughts as well. Let's head to the Fylde Coast. Fleetwood played Barrow in the early game, big game for Barrow, and it was going so well as well. 2-0 up in the first half through Josh Gordon and Niall Caravan. They were on their way to 3 points, and what could have been a pretty big one. It'll give them a little bit more of a gap outside the relegation zone. It'll give them a little bit more breathing space, and then the second half, well, they absolutely fumbled, didn't they? Through Dalifa Sapara's song, Detlef Sapara. I really hate pronunciations. But he started the comeback. Probably a little bit fortunate to get through, but he could finish there. And then just when you think they were gonna survive to get 3 points, 89th minute, Crispin McLean with the equaliser. Will Stanway beating at his near post, and then the 94th minute, Will Stanway again. I don't even know what that was really. He somewhat just got a hand to it from across, and it somehow looped over him and gone in the net. I probably explained that horribly, but it's an awful concede. It's an awful goal to concede right at the end, and it's cost his side in the end. Look, I think credit where credit's due. Good comeback from Fleetwood. I think it's got to be said, especially from 2-0 down. It'll probably give them a fair bit more confidence going into the next few games. Back-to-back wins for them now, and 2 wins and a draw in their last 3. So, yeah, doing all right, and they've had some decent-ish performances as well. But Barrow, I watched the last few minutes of this game where they conceded the 2 goals, and there was one thought in my mind straight away after they conceded, well, even the equaliser, let alone the 3rd goal, is that mentally they are so fragile. It's terrifying, really. And that's I think the biggest thing that Dino Marmia has to drill into them more than anything if they're going to survive the drop. I mean, ultimately now they've lost the game and they're down to 22nd now, just a point outside the relegation zone now. So they're frighteningly close, and that's something in which Dino Marbury is somehow going to have to stamp his authority down and try and get a tune out of these players. I mean, they're proving they can do it. The first half pretty good. They were 2-0 up. They were looking pretty good for the win, but to go and lose the game in that manner, especially right at the end, is a bitter pill for them to swallow. But I think it's also one that could have been so easily avoided. You'll probably touch on Will Stanway as well. I remember you messaging me at the time that, with the MK Dons interest in January, I think when you watched that, probably dodged a bullet there with that one. But I mean, it's one he won't want to see back, and even a second, really. Like I said, it's a good comeback from Fleetwood. It's a really good 3 points for them, but it's just more question marks for Barrow, which really could have been avoided.
It is. I'm gonna touch on Fleetwood just very quickly, give them their credit, because a comeback of that nature from their perspective, very impressive. Just also quite frustrating that they went 2-0 down in the first place. But to be honest, I think that kind of summarises their season perfectly. It's just very hit or miss, very poor first half, very good second half. And to be fair, even just their win, draw, loss stats show pretty much summarise the same thing: 12 wins, eight draws, 12 losses. So pretty much so an equal record. 43 goals scored, 42 conceded. So that's just very Fleetwood. They were exactly like that last season. I don't think it's necessarily been a season of progress for them, unfortunately, which it could have been. It looked like it would be at the beginning of the season, but sadly not transpired. But there is something about them, to be fair. Something to build on, hopefully going into next season, because I think it's fair to say they're probably playing for nothing at this point. But let's come back onto Barrow. Yeah, we're going to be talking about mentality again. We just have to. You just can't be throwing away a game like that. In that fashion, with that much at stake, it's just unacceptable. It's just it's just incredibly frustrating. This is the one game they will look back on. If Barrow go down, this is the single game they will look at and be like, okay, that's why we're down. It's that game. It is just they had so much control over that first half to then sort of drop back and let it all fall apart. And it's just the nature of the goals, as you say. I am going to call out Will Stanway, unfortunately, because, like I said, he could well have been an MK Dons player, but come the end of January, obviously didn't happen. But he's just a player that looks like his confidence is totally gone. Last season we were talking about how great of a goalkeeper he is, and you just wouldn't know it from this game. I mean, the equaliser, to let it in at his near post like that, all he has to do is have a nice strong foot there, and it doesn't go in. And then with the winner, I mean, it's an own goal, isn't it? But he's done the right thing by going for the ball there. It's just he's done it incredibly badly to the point that he's managed to tip it backwards into his own net. And that can only really be explained by lack of confidence. That's the only reason he would ever mess that up for me. And unfortunately, I think he is starting to develop a habit of parrying the ball into dangerous areas, which you kind of saw over that game a number of times. Which, to be fair, the Fleetwood keeper did a few times as well. But yeah, it's just a total lack of confidence. And as you say, it's that entire sort of winning mentality that Dino's going to have to try and inspire in these players, and I don't think it's going to be easy when you look at their form in particular, and when the confidence is just that low that even having a new manager hasn't made that much of an impact just yet. I mean, I know he's not had long so far, but we like to talk about this whole new manager bounce thing. Obviously, there's been that one result, but aside from that, that's kind of been it. And at the minute, they're only 1 point clear. That's definitely not going to be enough. And based on their current record, you wouldn't fancy them picking up too many more points at this moment in time. I fear for Barrow. I really do. I'm not sure how Dino's going to get them out of this one, if I'm totally honest, because it feels like a lot of change is needed within that group of players. and whether he can inspire that change in what is a fairly short space of time, I don't know. It's going to be tough for them.
Let's head to the County Grand now. Swindon Town, they've slipped up again. They've lost 2-1 at home to Crewe Alexandra, going 2-0 down in the game as well to the Ags. Matters Holicek and Josh March with two really neat goals, I've got to say. I really liked March's goal in particular. There was a bit of hope when Michael Olakigbe did pull one back for the home side, but it was to no avail. Crewe picking up a massive 3 points on the road for them. I feel like I've not given them enough credit. I mean, at the minute, they're doing their jobs and then some. They've only lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've only lost one of their last 7 games, winning 4 of them, drawing the other 2. Those draws coming against Bromley and Crewe. So they played against some good sides recently, and they've picked up some really good results. Yes, there's that loss to Fleetwood in between, but other than that, they've played these teams and they picked up some good results, and it's putting them in good stead, up to 6 now. And in the playoff place, a point clear of Walsall in 8th as well, and Chesterfield in 7th, if you want to look at it that way. Yes, they played, as I say, we keep saying that they've played more games more than anyone, but if you get results from those games, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're doing their job, it's absolutely fine for them. And I think they're on a good spell at the minute. I think all credit goes to their players and Lee Bell in particular. I think he's, they're really doing the job at the minute. 2 defeats in the last 3 for Swindon, slipping up again. They've had their chances in this one. I did watch bits of this one as well. It looks like at times Crewe defended really well. I think you've got to give them a lot of credit for this one. Loads of chances, just not their day. 21 shots on goal, 3 on target. I think probably tells you everything you need to know, really. And it's another... Again, from their point, it's another missed opportunity to close the gap on Bromley and compared to the likes of Cambridge and Notts County. I mean, they're 4th and they're only 4 points behind Bromley at top spot, and there's only goal difference separating them and Notts County in 1st. So there's not a lot to it, but it's again, we're approaching the business end of the season with against these teams, and that's no disrespect to Crewe, because they're clearly doing all right themselves, and they want a promotion place as well. Probably more the players from there. They've got ground to make up. I won't say never with them. If they keep this form going, they could be in this conversation. But I think you're still asking a lot there. But I think if they make the top 7, I think this is really good from them. But Swindon again. 2 defeats in their last 3. Are they faltering a bit? Is that fair to say, or I don't know. I think we'll get to this with Bromley probably a bit later on, but. Are they faltering a bit, or is it just one of those days?
I think they're faltering a bit. And that's not just me being biased, obviously, because I do kind of want them to fail at least a little bit so we can kind of take their place, go above them. But, I've been saying even in the last few wins, that the performances just haven't had the same sort of spark that the previous ones had earlier in the season. It feels like they're kind of at a point where they're just relying pretty heavily on their individual quality, which they do have a lot of, to be fair, and that's kind of been carrying them through the games. But in terms of the sort of group performance, I don't think it's there at the minute. I know they had 21 shots in this game, but it still felt pretty flat. I think 9 of those were from outside the box. Obviously, didn't do much with those. Those ones in particular, it's tricky from outside the box, to be fair. But they had one moment of quality in that game for me, and that was their goal. Fletcher Holman's cross, absolutely beautiful, perfect. Pretty much put it on the plate for him. But outside of that, you're looking at the other chances, not quite as convincing, unfortunately. But that's not to take anything away from Crewe, because Crewe did have a very good game. I personally really enjoyed their opener, just the work by Adrian Tebow to bring the ball down and lay it off the way he did, expertly done. Didn't even start the game either. He came on for an injured player. And then, as you say, the sort of corner routine with the little flick on as well for the second with March. 2 very well worked goals, and to be fair, all 3 goals in that game just very high quality. But I was watching this one the whole way through, and it felt like Crewe managed it pretty well. I mean, yes, they obviously conceded a lot of shots, but Swindon didn't do much with them ultimately. So yes, they're under pressure, but I think they soaked it up relatively well, and they just made sure that they did enough to get the 3 points, and that's all you can do. So yes, they've got less games, but as you say, if they're winning those games, then it gives them every possible chance, and it puts the pressure on the teams that have the extra games to then go and win them. Which is actually the exact same position Swindon are in, because they've also played the same amount of games as Crewe. And obviously, I'll be hoping we take advantage on Monday, but we'll wait and see on that one. The only other thing I was going to mention is it's just another loss for Swindon. I know they've won more games than anyone in this league, but out of the teams in the top half, they've also lost the joint most, alongside Crewe actually, and I believe Salford as well. They just need to get this mentality of making sure they take at least a point from games. They've only drawn 4 games all season. I believe all of those came within about a month of each other, sort of like back end of October, early November time, I believe. Outside of that, it's either they win or they lose, and there's not an in between. They need to find ways to grind these results out a little bit better. It's not all doom and gloom, because, like I said, they've got a lot of individual quality that can take them through some of these games. But at some point, the performances do have to come back, because they've got another 12 games to play. You can't play 12 games relying on individual quality and just hoping you get promoted. They have to find their level again. I think they're going to have to find it quickly.
I did notice that Ian Holloway said in the game, I could be corrected, but I think he said that they were missing a spark in the game, which would ring true considering what you just said. I did see quite a lot of this one. I went to get a drink, so I missed Swindon Town's goal. So I couldn't really tell you that. But I also noticed at the end a little bit of scuffle between Holloway and Lee Bell and a couple of members of the Crewe coaching staff. Don't know what happened there. But look, Crewe could have soaked up the pressure at times, and they just that is a really good away win, and you've got to give him immense credit, because it is a tough place to go. There has been teams in which Swindon have put to the sword there themselves at times, and to do a job like that is really good for them. Let's head to Cheltenham. Really good game this, actually. Cheltenham Town coming on the right end of a 3-2 victory against Salford, scoring a goal pretty late in the day, 96th minute through George Miller. I mean, this game pretty much had everything, really. I mean, 5 goals. There was a red card in there. George Grant opened the scoring for Salford in the first half, sent them on their way. We're reduced to 10 men when Luke Garbutt was sent off. Isaac Hutchinson scored a penalty to equalise. And then you've got the likes of Zakor, then put in Salford in front in the 76th minute. But again, really good character from Cheltenham as well, with the 84th minute goal from Harry Ashfield. And of course, the last minute winner from George Miller. Now, I've been thinking that I think Cheltenham have been threatening a big win, I think, for the last couple of games. I mean, they've gone to the likes of Barnet and Bromley. 2 draws in that game, a 0-0 at Barnet, and then a 1-1 at Bromley. I think on the face of it, they're 2 really good results, and 2 that they've had to grind out for against 2 good teams, I should say. And they played another one, and they've managed to get on the right end of it. Pleasing that they've scored 3 goals in a game, and I think I heard something as well that's the first time this season that they've gone behind in the game and have actually won. Because I think there's a stat like they've gone behind in games 13 or 14 times this season, and they've lost every one of them. Or it was something crazy like that. But credit where it's due. Really good win for them, and again, it sort of eases any worries about relegation. Salford again. I mean, another defeat for them. 3 defeats in a row for them now, and I think Jake pointed out to me. Jake pointed it out perfectly in the chat that it sort of feels like they're relying a lot on their games in hand at the minute, and it probably is the case. But when you're losing games from that position late on as well, it's not a good look if you want to be up there. And the games have lost as well. I mean, Accrington have been doing all right, but losing to Newport last time out. So I mean, it's certainly been a week to forget. That's for sure. On their part, but I mean, 6 goals conceded in those 2 games. I mean, one of them to Newport and then one of them to Cheltenham, who at times have struggled to score themselves this season. It's not a good look for their top 3 credentials, and maybe even their playoffs one. Like I said, we know they've got games in hand, but maybe they are putting pressure on that. But it's certainly not a great result.
ultimately, if you lose your games in hand, if you're losing games, your games in hand essentially mean nothing.
Yeah.
As I understand, the best they can do would be to go level on points with Dons, who are 5th currently. And, it potentially could look even worse depending on Monday's result. But yeah, no, it's just the nature of the defending for me. With this game for Salford, I'm not going to criticise their attacking too much. They didn't necessarily create much, but they were efficient with their chances. They got 2 goals from 6 shots, so 1 in 3 return. That's not awful. But yeah, it's just the nature of the defending that the Garbutt red card situation, obviously not ideal. It's a bit of a unique situation, that one. But even with 10 men, there's no excuse for the defending for the second goal. You cannot let any player, it doesn't matter who it is, you cannot let them run straight into your box totally unchallenged the way that they let Harry Ashfield do it. He travelled so far before anyone even thought about moving towards him, and by the time they did, it was pretty much too late. It's just poor defensive instincts, and you'd think that a team with less players on the pitch would be working harder to stop that sort of thing from happening, because often you see these players having to, pick up the extra slack of the player that's missing, and it just felt like that didn't really happen, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a frustrating one with them, with Salford. There's a lot of quality in that team, but there is a total lack of consistency, and that they are prone to, some odd sort of looking results, but they're becoming a bit more normal, and that's obviously not what you want. And the way it's looking at the minute, it feels like the autos race is sort of slipping away from them, and we're more looking at playoffs. But if this run carries on, which obviously we don't know whether it will or not, but if it carries on, we could be saying, well, they're on the edge of playoffs and now they're kind of an outsider. They just need a result. Get yourselves back in. And luckily for them, they've got an opportunity to do that on Tuesday. But unfortunately, it's against the Shrewsbury side, who have won their last 4. So that's going to be, I'd say, a pretty pivotal game for both sides, really, in their sort of respective battles. I am going to touch on Cheltenham very quickly, because I think they're making me eat my words at this point, because I was going on all of January about how they're not going to score enough goals and it's going to have all sorts of problems. Over the month of February, yes, they had a 0-0 draw with Barnet, but they've also scored 6 goals against what you could argue are automatic promotion contenders, if you're including Salford in the argument. Because obviously they've put 3 past Salford, they've put 2 past Dons and 1 past Bromley. That's a good return, to be fair to them, and the fight that is in that side, it is admirable at this moment in time. Obviously, we do have to talk a little bit about the relegation battle, because ultimately they are on the same points as Tranmere. But with the momentum they've got, you would back them to carry that on, get a couple of results, and actually, if you look at Cheltenham's next couple of games, they could very easily clear them of that relegation battle. It's Harrogate and then Barrow. Those are 2 very good games to get yourself clear of the relegation battle by taking points from the teams below you. If they can do that, then they're golden on to next season. But a good win regardless. It's just about building on that now.
Yeah. Look, I'm less concerned about Cheltenham than maybe what I had with Tranmere. And even Shrewsbury at this point. I mean, we'll get onto them in a minute with their 4 straight wins, but you can see that they've got a good way about them. You know what Steve Cottrell's doing, and you trust him really. I just feel like this Salford side is too good to not make the top 7, and ultimately, if they miss out, they've only got themselves to blame for it. With the money that they've spent and the quality that they have, there should be no excuse for missing out. And I mean, this run of games really, if you want to look at it like this, they've lost 4 of the last 5, really. And the side that they did win in particular in that, would you believe it, is Tranmere. As we've not slated them enough. So they've got some work to do to shift that around, really. Because that's not good. And the way that I know they had 10 men, but I mean the way that they folded yesterday, right at the end, there's it doesn't scream like a side that wants to get promoted to me. That's just not. I mean, I saw that come through, and that's the impression I get. Let's go to Colchester. I mean, look, two sides that are fighting for a playoff spot in Colchester and Barnet have been two pretty good sides on whole, but we're meeting two similar parts of the table. And Colchester coming out 4-1 winners in this one. Arthur Reed with the opener on 39 minutes, which was cancelled out by Namadi off a ball just before half time. And then the second half, to put it in the nicest possible way, it was the Jack Payne show once again. I believe I'm right in saying that was his second hat trick of the season. And yeah, when he's on it, he's just a cut above this level. And yeah, it's a terrific result for Colchester. I mean, when they're on it, they're a very good football inside. They've got some really good talented players in that side. They've got a lot of pace, power. They've got players that could score goals, that can create stuff. They've got the perfect blend, really. And they're very capable of putting teams to the sword at home. I feel like I've said that a lot already in this episode. But Colchester, we've seen it from them before. Was it 6 they put past Chesterfield earlier in the season? This is nothing new to them. And I saw this result and I was quite surprised, really. But yeah, look, Jack Payne, as you can probably imagine, man of the match there. Terrific performance from him. But yeah, Barnet, I mean, the way they sort of folded a little bit, especially in the last 15 minutes or so. Look, I mean, Colchester incredibly ruthless on their day. And I expect nothing less from them, actually, because, like I said, when they are on it, they are really hard to stop. But yeah, I didn't see this coming at all. Back-to-back defeats for Barnet now, which is somewhat giving their playoff thoughts a bit of a beating. They're a fair bit away from it now, and yeah, ultimately, I didn't see this coming at all. I did not see it. I thought the scoreline suggested it was a battering, but I mean, it probably was, but I didn't see this result coming. I really didn't.
Well, I mean, it was close until it wasn't. Is probably the way you'd put it.
I think it's,
You
yeah,
know,
I think
first off,
it's probably the case. Yeah, just a self-destruct button hit by Barnet in the last 15 is what I'm looking at.
well, yeah, and actually, I'm going to touch on the nature of a couple of those goals. Actually, you know, I think it sort of showed the vulnerabilities of their press if a team is able to play through them the way that Colchester did. You know, obviously it's not easy to play through a press like that. You know, you've experienced it with Grimsby, we've experienced it with Dont against Barnet. You know, their press is good most of the time, but if you can find a way through it, they looked quite vulnerable actually. You know, those I think it was the final 2 goals. As soon as there was a ball through that went past that sort of attacking and midfield press, and you're just left up against the defence, and you look at the defensive line, and they're just panicking. They're all over the place. They don't know where to go, and it all from there. All it takes is a couple of passes because they're just totally unorganized in those situations, and they've just lost their structure. So I think in that regard, some credit does have to go to Colchester for being able to sort of cut them open that way. You know, it takes a sort of a real sort of ruthless side to be able to do that, and I think it's also the performance they needed. We know obviously they had a nice little run of form a little while back, but their most recent results have been a little bit hit or miss. I think they needed that sort of big result to get them going again, and to do it against a potential playoff rival. That's exactly what you want, exactly what you need. And they've got a perfect opportunity to build on that as well because their next game is up against Salford, who we've just discussed aren't exactly in the greatest of form at this moment in time.
And they've got Chesterfield
That's
after that, just to point out as well.
yeah,
2 big games
some
right there.
very very crucial games in there, but this will give them all the confidence in the world. And if you have someone like Jack Payne that's just playing at his best, of course I'm going to glaze him a little bit. I mean, he's just unplayable on his day in this league. The fact he's still in League Two seems crazy to me. Having witnessed his play firsthand. Yeah, I think it was just a case of Colchester just really stepping on the gas a little bit in that second half, and they've found a way through, and they've done it in emphatic fashion. To be fair to them, so huge win.
What about Barnet? Back-to-back defeats, and you know, it does feel like maybe at times it is getting away. It's still pretty close, but 47 compared to the other teams. 6 points adrift now. Is it maybe a sense that maybe it's getting away from them a little bit?
Maybe slightly early to call it. I think what worries me more was the nature of their performances before the losses, actually. The games where they were drawing or winning, but it didn't feel like the performance was necessarily all there. The performances haven't necessarily improved in those defeats too much. But for the most part, they were sort of in those games until Colchester ran away with that last one. But they do still have some quality about them. I mean, you look at the goal they did score against Colchester. I'm looking at the work that Kabogre Shimanga did to win the ball for them, uh, and I thought that was a lovely move to get themselves back into that game. But it's just that that lack of consistency has to become a concern. Obviously, the two defeats they've got, Swindon and Colchester. Swindon, I suppose, kind of fair enough. They are a team with real quality. Colchester is probably slightly more of a concerning one, just based off of recent form. But I don't know. It feels like they're kind of now in the same situation Colchester would have been in before this game. They just need that one result to get them going again, because it feels like they've slowed down. They need that sort of that big sort of 2 or 3-0 win. Right, we've fully outclassed our opposition. We've got this strong result that we can take lots of positives from, gain some momentum from it. I feel like that's the point that they're at. They need that sort of win. It's not necessarily going to come easily, though. Next up, it's Accrington for them, which is an interesting one. Accrington this season have been tough to beat, but then I think they're still depleted in numbers, so it could be an interesting battle. But I'll leave that for the previews and whatnot. But it's a tricky one with Barnet. I wouldn't rule them out just yet.
These next 13, 14 games are going to be something. Let's head over to Crawley. You wanted to touch on this game. Crawley 1, Chesterfield 1. It looked like the 3 points were going to go the Spire-Rights' way. Liam Mandeville in the first half in the 39th minute. And they had the chances to win it, to put the game to bed. And ultimately, they shot themselves in the foot right at the end, conceding from Jay Williams, conceding from a set piece. Now, I have a lot to thank Jay Williams for the sole reason that he won me money yesterday. So I thank him dearly. It was only 70 quid. I mean, it cheered me up after a bad afternoon. That's to say. But yeah, look, Chesterfield 14 draws now. I think there has got to be a conversation to be had, because I mean, I was saying to you before recording, like, when they get going, Chesterfield are some team to stop. I mean, they're too good for this level at times, but it's ultimately they're the architects of their own downfall at times. They don't punish teams when they're on top, and ultimately they pay the price. They pay the price, and in this case, it was right at the end. It could be a really good result for Crawley. I mean, back-to-back draws against Chesterfield yesterday, and then MK Dons as well in the week, which I think were decent. Especially, I mean, the MK one, it was a clean sheet there, and taking a point off of Chesterfield, a side that are up there themselves. I think they've had a decent week. They do need to get some wins under their belt, because again, they're still in that ballpark. They're only 2 points above the relegation zone as it is, so they're still in a pretty scary place at the minute. But yeah, I think certainly if you're Chesterfield, you're coming away after that kicking yourselves that they've not picked up 3 points in this game, and for it to be undone with a set piece as well, it must be a tough one to take. I'll be honest.
Yeah, again, it's that word again, isn't it? It's frustrating. But actually, I feel like they could have done more to kill this game off before it got to that moment of having to protect a 1-0 lead in the last minute of the game. It feels a little bit odd saying this, really, but I don't feel like they take enough chances. For the amount of good chances they create, I don't think they take enough, which feels odd to say, given that only Dons, Bromley and Swindon have scored more goals than them this season. But they still haven't taken enough chances for my liking. I think there was one where I think it would have been Markande run straight from goal and somehow not ended in the back of the net. And they've had plenty of huge opportunities like that, particularly in this game, because it was an open game. Both teams were prepared to attack. No one was parking the bus or anything like that. that there was a lot of space to play with, and they were taking advantage in the sense that they were creating the chances, but they were just lacking the composure to put them away. And ultimately, they've been punished for that at the depth. I do think you do have to give some credit to Crawley, to be fair, because like I said, they had their own chances as well, and had they taken their chances, they could well have been talking about 3 points instead of one last-minute point. So I don't know. It felt like a reasonable advertisement for League Two football, but in terms of just grinding a result out, I don't think Chesterfield have necessarily mastered it yet. It's just too many draws, and obviously, last episode I was going on about, oh yeah, you need to be able to draw games. Well, you also need to be able to win them, and that's where they're kind of lacking a little bit at this moment in time. Because 2 or 3 wins, and they'd be much better off, much better off. I don't want to make out that it's all doom and gloom, because ultimately they're still on an unbeaten run. It's just the nature of this particular result. It's going to feel like a defeat, that one, and that will be a hard one to take, and one that they're going to have to bounce back from, because yes, they've got a point, but when it should have been 3, it's still 2 points dropped at the end of the day.
And right at the end of the game as well, it's an absolute sucker punch for where they want to be, as well. But I can only say that they've only got themselves to blame for it. I mean, the amount of draws, I think, is a concern, and they probably should have a couple more wins under their belt. But it's just getting it over the line at times. I think that might be their biggest problem. And eventually, I think if we come to the end of the season and let's say they don't get, well, if they miss out on a playoff spot, I think you're probably looking at that as a big factor in that. Did we do enough in games? Did we take as many points as we can? Did we miss opportunities in that? And I think there's a good argument to say yes, because I think there's just, I mean, they're not losing games from that, but at the same time, I think, for a lot was expected of Chesterfield this season. And that's why I think we're probably judging it a bit harsher than maybe I think probably what we would have done, I think. But yeah, they'll be kicking. It will feel like a defeat. I've seen that type of result as well. And to concede right at the end in that fashion, like I said, the goal I think they conceded was really poor as well. And to do that right at the end is well, they get what they deserve, really. I think for when you have these couple of chances and you don't take them, because the quality's there. We banged on about it so many times. I've got quality in that squad, it's just bitterly disappointing for them. Let's take a quick look at the 5 other games that took place very quickly. It's all going so well for Gavin Cowan at Shrewsbury Town. 2-0 winners away at Accrington Stanley, taking the lead very early on through Iwan Morgan. In this one, I mean, this is an Accrington side that have done okay recently as well. I mean, taking the lead in the first minute to sort of set the tone really. Luca Hoyle in the second half as well, securing 3 points. Like I said, 4 straight wins for them, back-to-back clean sheets, up to 18th now they are, and up to 35 points as well, 9 points clear from Harrogate in 23rd, and they've got a lot more breathing room now. I think Shrewsbury fans, I think some of them will be breathing a little bit better now that they're in this position, because we've had so many concerns over Shrewsbury throughout the course of the season. But no, Gavin Cowan's gone in there, and so far he's done a terrific job. You can't really fault him. He's done what he needed to, and there's maybe that indication of if they'd have made that move earlier in the season, what could have happened maybe. I think, you could tell how much I didn't rate Michael Appleton. I know I've said it quite numerous times, but he's getting a tune out of this. And, again, probably a couple more. And they'll be playing League Two football again next season, which at the minute, I think is certainly a pleasing sight. 3 points was also a pleasing sight for Bristol Rovers, beating Grimsby 3-1. And the game was done in 7 minutes, basically. Kofi Barmer, really good strike, actually, from a awfully defended free kick. Joe Quigley, again, a few minutes later. We're 2-0 down in 7 minutes, and you've got a mountain to climb away from home, really. Little bit of hope that Andy Cook scored 7 minutes before half-time. Really well taken goal, actually. It's a proper striker's goal with his back to goal. And then just to find that space, just to twist and get the shot off there. I mean, that's the sort of experience you want, really. But Yusuf Akamrich sealed the deal in the second half in the 63rd minute, and that second half was, I mean, the game, our performance was absolutely abysmal. I've got no complaints. Bristol Rovers deserve the win. They've done the double over us. We've complained about their season and how poor that they have been at times, but they've done a number on us. You've got to give them credit, but from our end, especially second half, well off it. And it's been a really disappointing week, and some of the goals we conceded were really poor, and the first two in particular. I mean, the strike from Kofi Barmer was decent. I'll give him his props there. But, I mean, Quigley's goal's awful from our perspective. Just so poor. And, yeah, again with a camera, good finish there. But, again, it just looks so poor. And I'm not putting that down to, like, we've played a lot of games in a short space of time. We have done. But I think we've got good rotation in this squad. So I don't really see that as much as an excuse. But, I mean, look, you won't believe it. I mean, you probably would believe it. Like, first league defeat of the calendar year, and I've read the word sacked already. Season over was the words, and I mean we're still only 4 points adrift. I mean, it's been a bad week. I think for the fact that we drew with Walsall in the week as well, with two really poor goals that we conceded there from corners as well. Just defensively, just this week really poor at times, and we got what we deserved from the game. We deserved absolutely nothing from that, but it's huge for Bristol Rovers, and it gives them great confidence. Stevie Evans has done a job on us, and fair play to him. Gillingham 0, Oldham 3, another really miserable afternoon for Gills. Really, a really good one for Oldham though. Callan Kavanagh, Manny Monte, and Mike Fondup on the score sheet. Is there playoff? I mean, I know they've got quite a few more games in hand, but maybe is there playoff hope alive? They've got a lot of work to do if they win their games in hand. But I mean, I saw one or two that maybe have a little bit of optimism in that, but we'll see. But certainly a good win away from home. Gillingham, absolutely abysmal. And I feel like I keep saying it with them. I've seen a lot being made out about the 2-year plan about Gareth Ainsworth. I'm not sure how much I like that, because if you're just putting it him, to me, you're putting big pressure on him going into next season. But I think one thing I will say, and I think it's what I've seen from ultimately, I mean, look, they had the chances to score in this game, didn't take them, and then they got punished at the other end, some pretty poor defending. But ultimately, I think this summer coming up, they need a whole rebuild. Because all I see really in that squad is, I just feel like there's players in that squad that have let them down for far too long, and that needs to change. And I think the only way that Gillingham are going to get out of this league is if they rectify it and start from scratch. I think this could be a very big summer coming up for Gillingham, and I think it needs to be, because it's another poor defeat, and any hopes of playoffs are absolutely gone now. It's going to be another mid-table season finish for them, which for the money that they've spent and the efforts that are put in from their ownership is pretty poor. But there needs to be that spark to break the cycle, and at the minute, I'm still not seeing it. Harrogate drew goalless with Bromley, a really good result for Harrogate actually, and that extends their unbeaten run to 4 games, 2 wins and 2 draws. And one thing to notice with this as well, Harrogate probably a little bit disappointed they haven't won the game. Absolutely peppered Bromley. 25 shots compared to Bromley's 7. 7 on target compared to Bromley's 1. I think they could take a lot of encouragement in that performance and recent results that have gone by. I think there's a lot there to work with, and all of a sudden you've got a little bit of belief after not winning a game in so long that maybe Harrogate are not here to lay around, and there's maybe fight in them. Bromley, are they faltering a little bit? 3 straight draws for them now. I mean, against Cheltenham and Harrogate, this last 2. I mean, a half decent point against Notts County last time out, but 3 draws for them. I feel like they're drawing too many games for my liking. I mean, I get that they're not winning, but I mean, the fact that, like I said, we call it all the time. The fact that Bromley are up there anyway is a testament to them. But are they crumbling under the pressure a little bit? I think Luke could probably mention it as well. I don't really know yet. And Cambridge as well, 2-0 winners away at Newport. They had to wait. They had to buy the time. Liam Bennett and Sully Kai on the score sheet. I mean, the Sully Kai one was an absolute gift from Jordan, right? It is a horrible moment for him again. I feel like he's done that a lot this season at times. And I think maybe it was a bad move for them to sell Nick Zanev, because this is just typical Jordan, right? I mean, I've seen it from last year. I don't think he made mistakes as bad as that. But he's just an incredible shaky goalkeeper. I mean, look, Kaike was there, right place, right time. And I think he could probably kick himself for the first one as well from Bennett beating his near post of the way he has as well. But no, look, I feel like there's a couple, one or two reservations about Cambridge going into this game. I think probably after Harrogate, I think it was right that I probably see them going into this game as a little bit wary. But ultimately, they've done the job there. 2 goals there, clean sheet, and they're now up to second. They're now up to second, 2 points behind Bromley as well, and they're knocking on the door now behind them. They're going really well at the minute. Your takeaways from them, obviously, Walsall against MK Dons coming up tomorrow as well, which we'll probably touch on Wednesday. But your takeaways from them.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to cover your game properly because obviously you know a lot more about it than I do. But I just want to give a bit of extra credit to Yusuf Akamrich because he's had 5 starts for Bristol Rovers now, and that's 4 goals and 1 assist from those 5 starts. I know he's had sort of 3 other bench appearances as well, but I just think the way he started life at Bristol Rovers has been outstanding. And if they do, well, I think they probably will stay up. I think they've got the momentum to be able to do it. But assuming they do, I think he'll be one of the reasons for it. He's proving to be a fantastic player, and whoever ends up with him on loan next season is going to have a very good player on their hands. But the game I wanted to cover in a little bit more depth was actually the 0-0, the Harrogate Bromley game. And I mean, you've alluded to it nicely. Harrogate were all over them from start to finish. Which I was surprised by. I kept looking back at the stats because obviously we had no games. So I was kind of just keeping an eye on things and just seeing how the other promotion rivals were doing. I was thinking, hold on, Harrogate are actually on top of these guys. What's going on? And to be fair, if it was just for a little bit of better finishing or just a mistake from Grant Smith or something, who was in fine form, to be fair to him, I think Bromley can credit him absolutely for at least taking a point on the road. But Harrogate really weren't that far away from taking all 3. Bromley had 2 big chances in the game, one for Michael Cheek, one for Nicky Kabamba. Missed both, and actually Bromley didn't have a single shot on target in that entire game. How many teams have held Bromley to no shots on target? I would probably assume Harrogate are probably the only ones that have done it. Obviously, I don't know that for sure. I've not checked it, but I just based off of the way Bromley have been this season, it's probably the only time. And I think that speaks volumes for Harrogate. And yes, they've not taken all 3 points, but the confidence they can take, knowing that they can make a game that difficult for Bromley. We've been going on about Bromley all season, how oh yeah, these are the tough guys to play against. They're going to make life awkward. No one likes playing them. Harrogate have just done that straight back to them. That's like unheard of. And the confidence they can take going into the rest of the season, because if they can do that to Bromley, they can do that to anyone else in this division. Which I'm quite annoyed about saying because we've got to play them in a couple of games' time, but I digress. Harrogate are, very, very, just very, very good in that game, and lot of credit to them for that. With Bromley, it's an interesting one because I feel like it's similar to Swindon in the sense that the performances haven't been that good for quite a while. It's just unlike Swindon, they haven't had the defeats to bring them down quite yet. They've got that extra sort of strength about them, I suppose. But I think that's what's going to make things interesting is if or when they lose a game, what does that do to the mentality of that team? If they go unbeaten from whenever it was to the end of the season, which is what for them another 13 games, that would be one of the greatest unbeaten runs in EFL history. I'd be willing to bet. So chances are they are going to lose another game, probably, right? What is that going to do to that team? It's a tricky one because, like I said, the performances haven't been great. It almost feels like, well, I don't know. I feel like every team's probably, well, obviously no one's trying to lose. Maybe it feels like there's that slight fear of losing at this point. Just because, like I said, mentally, what would that do to them? Because I mean, to be fair to them, they have lost the least amount of games of anyone. Unsurprisingly, they've only lost 4 all season, which is incredible, really. But But if you're drawing off a game and you're not taking so many wins, they had an 8-point gap this time a couple of weeks ago. It's now a 2-point gap. That's much more concerning, and it's looking like it's going to be a much tighter finish. Which for sort of general League Two fans is great. If you're a Bromley fan, that's maybe not so much, but it's one to keep an eye on in the coming weeks, I think.
I guess that's another interesting thing about it. Let's say MK Dons win tomorrow at Walsall, 61 points, or another. There'll be 3 teams on 61 points. I know they're on 65. Cambridge are on 63 at the minute. Again, it just continues a sort of 5-horse race at the minute, and again, it starts to put more pressure on them. But I think tomorrow is a massively important game for both sides. But I think also to caveat it with Bromley that I think. We talk about them like they've drawn quite a few of their games, but I think to also caveat it, yes, it was against bottom of the league, but maybe to go away from home, it's a long way to travel. You've not played great, but the fact that you've taken a point away from it, I think probably still says a lot about them. I think you could look at it both ways, but yeah, but ultimately, I think probably if you are around that position, I think these are the sides you've got to be beaten. I know that they're not losing many games, and as you've mentioned, 4 defeats all season. Tells you everything you need to know. They are a tough nut to crack, but it's all good saying that. But if you're not winning your games, I think you're going to have a problem, especially with how tight it is at the minute when you've got the likes of Cambridge, Notts County, Swindon, and MK Dons if they win tomorrow night. But even if that, there'll be so many more twists and turns, like 13, 14 games left, and it's really starting to take shape. And I'm seeing teams there that are hungry, really. Not to say that Bromley aren't, because absolutely they are. And they deserve immense credit of why they're up there. But yeah, I think there maybe is that case of 1 or 2. I mean, it's never going to be. You're never going to have a full plain sailing season. It's just not how it goes, especially at this level. But yeah, I think ultimately the fact that they've gone away from home, I mean, they picked up a point. They've not played great. Is disappointing on the face of it, but not bad, I guess, for a side that Harrogate are picking up. We should probably mention them as well quickly, as well as you said that. Really starting to find their rhythm now after so long without a win, and I'll be really interested to see how it goes. At the minute, they're giving themselves a bit of a fighting chance of getting out of it. Where we looked at it about a month ago, or even a few weeks ago, we were looking like they were going to have no chance. So that's just how quick things can take a turn in this league, and the same goes for pretty much everyone else above the relegation zone as well, and of course in the playoff mix. Look, we've got to wrap this up very quickly. 2 games in midweek. Accrington Barnet are playing each other, as well as Salford against Shrewsbury. I'm just going to do this really quickly. Quick score predictions for Accrington Barnet. I think Barnet get back to a 1-0. I think it'll be a hard graft performance, but they need a response really after that defeat at Colchester. And Salford Shrewsbury is an interesting one because Salford are coming into the game not on form. Shrewsbury are in form at the minute. And I'm going to separate it with a 1-1, I think. I just think Shrewsbury are in a really good place at the minute. And even if they take a point off of Salford, I think they could be really pleased with that. But hell, the way they're going at the minute with how Salford are, they should probably go into that thinking, yeah, you know what? There's an opportunity there to go and get another 3 points and continue this good momentum that we're on. But I'll say 1-1 for now. Yours he's got to be quick, so I want to wrap up.
Yep. Okay. I'll go Accrington Barnet first, and I mean, whoever wins this is absolutely crucial for the playoff battle. If anyone loses it, that's probably the season pretty much over. To be fair, it's a very important game. I feel like Accrington are in a tricky situation with their whole sort of availability at the minute, all the suspensions. I don't know how many of those players are set to be back. But then we were going on about Barnet needing a reaction just now, and they need a statement result. I'm going to back them to get it. I'm going to say Barnet win that one 3-1. And then Salford, Shrewsbury, again, tricky one. Obviously, Salford losing their last 3, Shrewsbury winning their last 4. It's based on form, it's a no-brainer Shrewsbury win. I don't think it's going to be that simple. But at the same time, just based on the momentum that Shrewsbury have got, they're starting to look like a bit of a machine at the minute. And until someone stops them, I've got no reason to believe that anyone will. And the way Salford are going at the minute, I'm not sure they'll be the ones to do it. So I'm going to say it's a narrow 1-0 in favour of Shrewsbury.
Okie dokie, and that is all we've got time for. We'll have a look at those 2 games in the week, and we'll discuss it then. We'll also probably discuss the table again a bit more because it's all, this is the interesting part of the season now. This is where the nitty gritty happens and all this sort of stuff about, who season's done, who season's just getting started and all that sort of jazz. But we'll touch on it then. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you thought of your games, or just other thoughts in particular. We really want to hear from you, and we've had a lot of comments recently, so we thank you for that. Subscribe if you are new around on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Download the podcast wherever you get it from. We'll be back in the week to discuss the next round of games for next Saturday. But in the meantime, you've been listening to Luke Payne. Hi, I've been Jordan Richards. This has been League 2 Low Down, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.